This video is intended to show you a general method for the preparation of perfectly tender brined and glazed pork chops. You can use different seasonings and different sauce if you like, but the overall scheme for cooking this is a professional method that will produce perfect results every time. And even if you like your pork cooked fairly well done, this will still be tender. So I'm making the brine. I have 40 grams of coarse salt in here. I'm going to add 500 milliliters of water, a pint, 2 cups, and I'm also going to add to this a tablespoon of sugar and a tablespoon of MSG. If you don't want to use the MSG, you can use that other about half tablespoon of salt, but the MSG will make it a lot better. Now once you've heated it enough that you've made sure that all of the salt has dissolved, and pour it into a container like this that has some thyme branches in it. If you've got thyme that's a little past its prime, this is a good time to use it because it's not going to really matter that much if it's a little bit old. And then we add the 2 cups of ice to this. Make sure you get it all out, and let it stand for a few minutes so that the ice melts and brings the temperature down. We don't want to put meat into warm solution because it will just start bacterial growth. I've got the big double wide pork chop here, and you don't have to do this step, but it will make it better in many ways because the marinade will penetrate more, and the more we cut these fibers in the middle, the more tender it will be. But you also have to be careful not stab yourself with this thing. It's a card device. And we can come along here and give it a few cuts in this direction. This doesn't do as much as the side cuts do, but still worth doing. Okay, a little bit more here. Now, I've got a lot of fat along here on one edge, but when we cook it, we're gonna stand it up on this end and render some of that fat out, as you'll see. And now this has been sitting long enough. We can submerge this. And put a lid on it, and this goes into the refrigerator for a day or two. I've had this brining for 2 days now, and we're getting close to when I'm going to cook it, so take it out, start warming it up to room temperature. It's a very important step, and it has to sit for roughly an hour. A little bit longer is better because the size of this piece. I mean, an hour and a half is good. We're going to begin by toasting the spices. Now I've got the pan to about 400 degrees Fahrenheit right now, about 200 Celsius. And I put the mustard seeds in first, and this will be a little test for exactly how hot the pan is. As soon as these start popping, I'm going to add the other spices. Okay, they're here, little pops. They're just starting to pop. It's like 30 seconds later now. I'm going to add all the rest of this. This is the fennel seeds, black peppercorns, coriander seed, cumin seed, and a half dozen allspice berries. We're just going to toast this for 30 seconds or so. It's not like when I did the salmon recently, where you got to really watch it because the pan's not as hot as that. It's hot, but we're in the 200 to 220 degrees Celsius region, so it's not going to scorch the spices so quickly. Now you start to see little wisps of smoke coming off, and you can see they're starting to darken just a little bit. There's like 10 seconds more. You can also smell the aroma. It's probably the most important thing, is you can smell the aroma of the flavor molecules coming off of it now. And that's enough. So let's dump this out and let these cool down before we grind them. Okay, it's been a couple of minutes. I'm adding a teaspoon of coarse salt to this. The abrasive properties will help grind up these spices. And the meat's been standing now for over an hour and a half. I've got the spice mixture just ground up. The next step here is to dry it off. Get all this extra moisture off of it. Okay, by the way, you didn't have to worry about it spoiling, because after it sat in that salt solution for a couple days, believe me, it's cured enough. It's not going to be spoiling just because it's sitting out at room temperature for a couple hours. It's not going to have any effect on it. So now we're going to oil it. It's just plain vegetable oil. You can use, you know, olive oil or something if you really want to. I don't think it'll make any difference at all. And then we liberally coat it with the spices on all sides. Be generous. One of the big mistakes that home cooks make compared to restaurants is that they don't use enough spices and seasonings. It's very natural to think, you know, you got a piece of pork, you're going to use a teaspoon of spice. No. That's why your restaurant food tastes so much more intense and so much more flavorful. It's because we're not afraid to use a couple of tablespoons of spice on a piece of meat. It's okay. Spices are cheap. Flavors should be intense. Okay, now it's ready. Next, you get a non-stick pan and melt some butter in this with a little bit of oil. Keep the butter from burning. Butter browns best. That's why we use butter. And we're not looking to get this pork black. We just want to get some good color on it. And when you get the butter up to the point that it's sizzling, you put the meat in. Begin cooking this. Like I said, though, we're not looking to really blacken this, to get an intense coloration on this like we are sometimes with meat. We just want to sear the outside well, get a little bit brown. We're going to flip it a couple of times during this cooking stage here. So it's not just like a little bit on each side. We're going to let it cook kind of evenly here, a little bit on both sides, and then we're going to turn it up on the end and really get some heat on this fat cap that's on the edge. To get that end cooked, you may have to hold it. If you have tongs that will lock, like I do, you can lock it in place like that. And make sure you get this end to, you know, you're going to spend maybe 12, 15 minutes, something like that, because the heat's not that high. I got it on about 6.5 out of 7 here, and you really want to crisp up that edge and the fat edge. That is, the sides not so much. You want to get them brown, but the fat is where you really need to do some cooking. When you've got good browning on it, you're satisfied. Then you're going to put it on a rack like this and drizzle over. That really pour over these juices from the pan to coat it on the side. And now this is going to go in the oven. And here's what it looks like after it comes out of the oven originally. Now I'm going to put on some of the barbecue sauce, and then we're going to flash it under the broiler. Well, not just flash it, we're going to cook it under the broiler to really finish it off here. And just a little bit more. Okay. It's important to get the broiler going before you put this in, so that you can get an accurate time on it. And we have it out from the broiler. And the bottom of the broiler pan, we have these juices. We're going to brush these on. Some of it, re-moisten it some, give it some of the flavor back. And we're going to let it rest like this. Be very generous with this. Most of this is going to run off anyway. We got the butter and the oil, all the seasonings in here. Good flavor. So we're going to set it like this. Hey, you can see it already looks pretty damned amazing. We're just going to let it sit like this and cool down, rest. It's very important for meat to rest before you start cutting it.
If you want to know more about my adventures as a chef around the world and have some great laughs along the way, be sure to check out the video tour of my book, 40 Years in One Night. It's up on YouTube right now. Click the link. If you like my videos, look for my cookbook, now available through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other internet bookseller sites.
Also look for my cocktail book, Cocktails of the South Pacific and Beyond, Advanced Mixology, available through Amazon online.